Okay, so I'm going to continue from the last lecture we had, which is about oh, where's my screen not showing? Which is about Ielts reading.
Okay, yes.
Yes, that was where we stopped the last time. Let me close some pages if my slide could show. Okay, so that's where we're going to continue tonight. I'm just trying to uh, transit to my slide, but I'm having some little difficulty, which I will soon sort. Okay. Okay. Yes, I'm there now. So you can see now. Okay,
Get to see the slide. Okay.
you can see it. Hello? Are you able to see the slide?
Okay, I can see it now.
Okay. Okay, no problem then.
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I will just start the lecture now. Okay. Okay. So from where we talked about the IELTS reading structure, how we talk to read to be able to effectively meet everyone. Okay. So welcome everyone and good evening. So I will start the lecture straight now. So I'm going to repeat. I'm just going to do a recap of what I did last week. How to effectively read the IELTS reading structure. And I emphasized some things about the reading. I said, just like you can see in the slide in front of you, I said when you are reading a particular paragraph, you are looking for 2 or 3 things most importantly, and those 2 or 3 things are the topic sentence, which is what is the main idea of this paragraph, and the key actions that explains the main idea. Because the purpose for this is if you are meeting a very complex paragraph, you will be able to easily decode the paragraph without having to battle with some very, very naughty expressions or English words. So, and I gave example, and I will still give some example tonight. Okay. I think this was one of the passage I used as an example that very day, which was this paragraph. I said, okay, let me have to take the windows out of my slide. And I said, close your eyes and imagine walking along a sandy beach and then gazing over the horizon as the sun rises. How clear is the image that springs to your mind? Okay, I want to do something now. Please, can you all see my slide? Can you all see my slide?
No, no, we can't.
Is it too small or what?
You just read something about same here, please.
I think I will.
It hasn't come up. I can't. It's not showing.
It's not showing. Okay. I think the network is hindering the transition. So I will show it again now. I have removed the slide. I will share now. You can see. How about now?
It's still not showing.
It's still not showing. I think I have to wait a bit. I think it is network. I think it's network. Okay. So you can't see anything from my slide.
No.
Let me see what's wrong.
Okay, it's showing now.
It's showing now.
Yes, we can see aphantasia.
Okay. Is it bold enough?
Yes, it is for me.
Okay, now this is a sample paragraph, and just like I was saying last week, I said when you are reading, irrespective of the language of expression of the writer, one thing you need to do is to be able to quickly understand the main idea of the passage and then recognize the key things that happened, irrespective of the language of expression that the writer used. Okay, so I'm going to still read this one and possibly go to a new paragraph. Okay, he said, close your eyes and imagine walking along a sandy beach and then gazing over the horizon as the sun rises. How clear is the image that springs to mind? Okay, most people can really readily conjure images inside their head, known as their mind's eye. But this year, scientists have described a condition, aphantasia, in which some people are unable to visualize mental image. If you look at this whole paragraph, what is the main idea? The first sentence was talking about, can you close your eyes and imagine things? The second sentence was saying, okay, some people can conjure images and some people cannot. So the whole idea of the passage is about mental image. Okay, so in this aspect, mental image was the whole idea, and the thing there is that some people can, maybe they can conjure, they have mental image, some people do not. Okay, so that's the main idea of the paragraph, and those are the key things that were discussed in the paragraph. So wherever you read a particular paragraph, you need to look out for the main idea. Now, let me pick another paragraph. Let me see if I can see something on my slide that is Okay. Okay, let me see something. One of the questions I maybe treated later, I want to just go into. Okay, can you see my slide? Let me just unmute. Why is this thing hanging? Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes.
The new
Yes,
one?
I can.
The new one?
Yes, I can. The notorious Mexican drug baron.
Yes. Okay, if you look at the first paragraph, this paragraph is labeled A, the second one is labeled B. So when you are writing the Ielts test, if you see a paragraph labeled like this, it means you are going to match a paragraph. I will still go into that with a possible summary or a possible information that was taken out of the paragraph. Okay, so if you look at this paragraph A, is saying, is it large enough? Let me just increase the font so that you can see it properly. Or a bit. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The paragraph A is saying a notorious Mexican drug baron, audacious escape from prison in July, doesn't at first appear to have much to teach corporate boards. Okay, but some in the business world suggest otherwise. Beyond the morally reprehensible side of criminal works, some business gurus say organized crime syndicates, computer hackers, pirates, and other operating outside the law could teach legitimate corporation a thing or two about how to hustle and respond to rapid change. Okay, now, what is the main idea of what I just read? If anybody could give me an idea, just from what we have read, the first part, the first sentence, the second, and the third.
The, I think the main idea is that the law enforcement that they can learn from criminals.
Okay, she is saying enforcement. Okay, yesterday you are speaking. Okay.
Yes, I think the main idea is how business gurus can learn from um, drug barons or criminals.
Yes. Okay.
Criminals.
Okay. So yes, that's it. The main idea is the lesson that can be learned by business people from criminals.
Okay.
Yes. If you see the first sentence, is saying a notorious Mexican drug baron's audacious escape from the prison in July doesn't at first appear to have much to teach the corporate board, but some in the business world, another way for alternating corporate world, in the business world, okay, suggest otherwise. Beyond the morally reprehensible criminal work, some business gurus say organized crime syndicate, computer hackers, pirates, and other operating outside the law could teach legitimate corporation a thing or two about how to hustle and to respond to change. So this paragraph is particularly talking about what business people can learn from criminals or what criminals can teach business people. So immediately you are reading a particular paragraph, one thing you need to be looking out for is what is the main idea. Immediately you understand the main idea, other things will be easy. Other things that were said is somebody escaped from jail, and also the fact that some type of criminal activities or criminals that could teach corporate boards some certain things to know about criminals. So the main idea and then the key things that happen. So those are things I've just mentioned. No matter how complex the paragraph is, that's the way you need to, because some words will keep repeating themselves. Teach, learn. You can see that it keeps repeating itself throughout the passage. Okay, so that's the way to go about it, because this reading method will save you some headache of trying to decode everything that's in the passage.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you mute? Can you mute everybody so that we can hear you clearly? That there's some
I have
background.
to unmute because I needed to ask question. Yes, I will mute back. So I want you to understand that. So the main idea, the key actions, and the key actors are the things you are looking for. And when you are looking for the main idea, put it in a summary format that you understand. The key action too, in a summary format. I have done this in the last lecture, so I am just using it to do a recap. So because this evening I will be going into question types. So I'll be treating question types, and I've highlighted some particular question types, about 7 or 8 of them, but I will skip the order of the arrangement for a purpose, because I'm going to treat the first 2 question type in particular. Those 2 question types are always the most difficult or the most challenging for students. And one of them is matching header question, or matching heading question, and true false not given questions. So I will treat them briefly because I'm still going to hold a session on true false not given. So this is matching task or matching header question. Okay, in this question type, what you will be requested to do is the question is always targeted at 2 things, either the main idea. That's why when you are reading, you need to first of all start looking for the main idea. Okay, the main idea. So after the main idea, you are looking, it also targets specific information in the paragraph. So 2 things that are worthy of note is, let me bring out my annotation so as to properly highlight. The first thing is that the question is always targeted at the main idea or specific information within the paragraph. So that's why I said the topic statement must be understood to be able to appropriately allocate topic to each paragraph. Now, let me go back to a sample. That is what one of the passage the paragraph we just read. Okay, this is a passage or 2 paragraphs out of a passage. Now, these are the questions that follow. These are the questions that follows. What are the questions? The passage is telling you this thing is freezing. Okay, let me just unmute because I want to hear from everybody. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I was in doubt if you can hear me, so I needed to be sure that you can hear me. Okay. Okay, now look at the question. He said reading passage 2 has 8 paragraphs, A to H. He said match the heading below with the paragraph. Write correct letter A to H. in box 14 to 21. So these are the question. Jailbreak with creative thinking. So you will need to read a particular paragraph. A particular paragraph will be talking about jailbreak with creative thinking. Another paragraph will talk about five common traits among rule breakers. 16 is saying comparison between criminals and traditional businessmen. And 17 is saying, can drug barons escape, teach legitimate cooperation, so and so forth. So now let's go back to the reading paragraph. We have read paragraph A, and we have known the main idea of paragraph A and the specific information given about paragraph A. So we will now check the question options and decide and determine which of these question options matches paragraph A. Is it that jailbreak with creative thinking, 5 common traits among rule breakers, comparison between and traditional, and drug barons teach legitimate cooperation? And based on what we have read, paragraph A actually talking about drug barons or criminals teaching business people some lessons. So paragraph 17 is A. Okay, so that's it now. I will take you to the passage now. I'll give you, you will all read the passage, and we will come back to the question. We will determine which one of them is the answer. So I will give you 2 minutes. I will show the passage now so that you can read. So you will read passage B. Let me highlight it properly so that you can see it. Okay. Let me reduce the font of passage A so that, okay. So look at B. I'm giving you 2 minutes from now. Okay, so I have unmuted everyone now. I will want Oma Yemi, what's the main idea of this passage?
I know the passage is comparing the business corporations with criminals.
Okay, so I'll go to Yetunde. Please, what's the main idea?
Okay, I think the main idea here is that it's comparing the traditional business with the let me see. I think it's comparing the management with traditional business. It's a comparison between traditional business. Yes.
What of
Corporate, big corporate companies and traditional business.
okay?
Criminals and traditional business.
Okay. So Afyong, so what is your take?
Okay, I see it's a comparison between legitimate businesses and the underworld corporations.
Okay.
So it has compared the criminals, big organizations, as well as startups. So basically, it's comparison. That's what I say.
Okay. Kunle, what do you think is happening?
Well, I think the way they're just trying to make us understand that, make us learn that the way corporate world learn from each other, they can also learn from the criminal world.
Okay. Okay, I want to read the passage now. From encouraging illegality, these gurus argue that in the same way big corporation sometimes emulate startups, business leaders could learn from the underworld about flexibility, innovation, and the ability to pivot quickly. There is a nimbleness to criminal organization that legacy corporation with large complex layer of management don't have. The first part was talking about the fact that, okay, corporation, the way they learn from it's a continuation of what happened. The way they learn from startup, they can actually learn from criminals. And it's now saying that these are qualities that criminals have that corporations do not have. And it went about to start naming those differences. It's trying to mainly compare what happens between the differences between the criminal organizations, and immediately the second statement started saying this is the difference, and the third statement was emphasizing that difference. So it was trying to make a comparison actually. So that's the main idea. So now when we transit to the question, okay, you can see option 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 to 21. Which one of them properly match that option B?
16.
Okay.
16.
Okay. Absolutely.
16.
Yes, it's a comparison between criminals and traditional businessmen. Okay, so matching tasks. One of the reasons why I need to emphasize is that matching tasks often come out about 8 to 10 of it in almost every Ielts exam. So the ability to understand matching tasks is going to be of great help, because the structure of the text favors or is targeted at matching tasks, but it will also help other formats or question formats. Okay, so now we have been able to, I have been able to explain matching task. Now I want to go to true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given. Okay. So I will race through my slide again before. Okay, you can see according to my slide that is the 8th question sample. Yes, no, not given, true, false, not given. Okay, I've highlighted here that this question sometimes could be a bit tricky because deciding between not given and falsehood sometimes could be technical. But nevertheless, I'm just going to give some open instruction first about it. But before I do that, I will transit to the second slide. After it, there are 2 things you are required to do. Okay, sorry. 2 things that you are required to do. Number 1 is check if the question statement occurs in the passage. Okay. So when you come to the question is going to be making a statement, and you are asked if these questions occur like that in the passage. So the first thing you are going to check is, does the question occur or not? So if it occurs, then your answer would be either true or false, because there can be a falsehood introduced inside. Okay, if it does not occur, it means your answer is a straight not given. Okay, then after you have determined if it occurs, you should check if there is any error or falsehood presented to you. Because the meaning of the question is, check this statement in the passage. Is it in the passage like that? If it is in the passage, is it in the passage like that? If it is like that, it is true. If it is not in the passage like that, it is false. If it is not in the passage, it is not given. Now, there is always a tendency for you to think that a statement is in the passage. So I will quickly give 3 brief highlights, though in the next lecture I'm going to break these 3 highlights into a broad category of explanation. Okay. The first thing I am giving you here is more like an instruction. I say, please read instruction well to differentiate between the two. I meant, if the instruction is telling you yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given. Okay. So don't ever write yes when the question instruction is saying you have to put true or false. So you need to be aware of that. When a question series is using true or false, use true or false. Don't use yes or no. When a question series say use yes or no, don't use true or false. Okay. Now, I said when the fact is restated with similar words or synonyms, that is, that statement is repeated with similar words or synonyms, it is true. I will take you to examples. So just, if the opposite of the fact is stated, yes, or there is a lie introduced, it is no or false. That is, if the opposite of the fact is stated, or there is a lie or a new information. Okay, I just went out of power. It will be restored shortly. Okay, so I said if the opposite of the fact is stated. Can you see my slide? Let me just unmute. Can you see my slide because it's dark?
Yes.
Yes.
You can see.
Yes.
Just give me okay. So as I was saying, I said when the fact is restated with similar words or synonyms, because some words can be replaced with a similar word or synonyms, it is still true. I said when the opposite of the fact is stated, or there is a lie or a new information which is not in the passage, it is no or false. When you did not see the information at all, it is not given. So I want to quickly go through a sample question for us to understand. Okay, let me race through the slide now to go to a sample question. Okay, look at this passage, the one we read about alpha-tansia the other time. Okay, now this is question 1. He said, aphantasia is a condition which describes people from whom it is hard to visualize mental image. According to the paragraph that we read, it said, aphantasia in which some people are unable to visualize mental image. Okay, you need to compare all the keywords and determine if the statement has been established that this statement exists in the passage. So your answer will either be true or false. So you now need to determine and check all the keywords. Aphantasia, condition, describe people, hard to visualize mental image. Okay, the passage is saying aphantasia because it started with a condition, aphantasia, in which some people are unable to visualize images. So, according to this passage, there is a problem. The passage uses the word unable. The question uses hard. Hard and unable, are they the same thing? Absolutely no.
No.
Unable means it is not possible. Hard means it is difficult, but not possible, not impossible.
Possible.
So this hard made the statement false because the passage did not say it was hard. The passage said it was unable. Okay, forget the fact that this person is writing to okay, let me just mute.
Hi. Could you mute us, please?
Okay.
Hello?
Hello. So the thing there is that aphantasia, which describe people from which it is hard. This statement exists, but there was an information which was untrue in it. So that makes it a falsehood. Okay, so that's an example. So if you come to question 2, he said, Neil Kumar was unable to count sheep in his head. I will unmute now because I will want us to respond to decide if that part is true or false. This is the second paragraph talking about Neil Kumar. So I want us to read. I'll be giving us just 1 minute. Then we will contribute to decide the question. Or to decide the answer, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to start from what is the answer to the question? Nekuma was unable to count sheep in his head.
True.
Okay, what of Yetunde?
Yes, true.
Okay,
It's true.
okay, and Kule?
Was unable to count.
It's true.
Okay, the answer is true because according to the passage, it's saying that my stepfather, when I couldn't count sheep, told me to count, couldn't sleep, told me to count sheep, and he explained what he meant. I tried, but I couldn't. I couldn't see any sheep jumping over the fence. There was nothing to count. So it was true that he could not count sheep ministry. So that is the thing. When the message is particularly repeated to you without an alteration, if there's an alteration but the word is can replace one another, it is true. But if there is a falsehood or there is an alteration in the word, it is a falsehood. So if it does not exist at all, it is not given. So you would see that the reading structure I gave, I need to go back to the reading structure now. That is the main idea and key action and key actors. These two question types can be answered from that structure without stressing yourself too much. So that's why, at first, if you are struggling with the structure, you need to pay attention and be patient with yourself, because that is the structure that will get you to actually, what do I say, understand every reading and answer questions accurately. And please do not forget, one of my recommendations is after reading every paragraph, you go to the question. It's going to take you flipping over your paper a lot of time, but the benefit is that you'll be more accurate. Okay, so before we close for tonight, I know some of us are tired. I want to quickly race through other question types. Other question types are not difficult. The only thing is that if you are in a hurry or you are not patient enough, yes, that's where the problem comes. These two question types are the most technical. But I am going to, in the next lecture, I am going to go deep into the yes, no, not given, because there are still some technical questions which will challenge these three main principles of answering yes or no. So I'm going to give the breakdown of the three principles so as to help us to tackle more complex ones. But now I want to just quickly raise to other question types so that we can get familiar with the question types. Okay, the last lecture, I introduced us to classifying information. So this time around, I will go straight into, and I introduce us to short answer questions. Okay, I just would like to, I introduce us to only classifying information. So let me just quickly do a recap of classifying information. I said classifying information is about a whole paragraph or a whole passage is dedicated to discussion between three people. Okay, and so at the end of the day, questions will be targeted at who said what. And the people who made the discussion will be labeled A, B, and C. You can see in the slide in front of you that A is Steve Wise, B is Mark Village, C is Jemima Olkachowski, and D is nobody from the above. So if the statement is not credited to anybody, you will pick D. But if the statement is credited to anybody, you will pick the person who is credited to. If it's Steve Wise, you will pick A, you will write A. If it's Mark Bilge, you will write C and B, and so forth, and so on and so forth. So look, you can see this question is saying something or sorry, this passage, it says Steve Wise. As a matter of fact, I want to cut it short because that was the only name that was mentioned. Who launched the petition was driven by Times investigation, which claimed that women and girls are charged on average 37% more for clothes, beauty products, and toys. If you look at the reading structure I gave, I said something. Look for the main idea, key action, and key actors. When a name is mentioned, note it, key action and key actor. So that when you get to the question, you will know that you will know the actor and the action. So you will see that all the question type are being attended to by the structure. You only need to be patient to understand how to navigate. So now don't let me read long. Let me go to the question. The question of this one is saying 29. So 29 is called a debate on the issue. There was nothing about call a debate on the issue in that paragraph. Question 30 says launch the petition, and we know from the passage that Steve Wise was the one that launched the petition. So question 30 is actually A, because Steve Wise was labeled A in the instruction. Okay, so that is it about classifying information. So it is about 3 people who make a discussion in a whole paragraph. Now let's go into the next question. The next question is short answer question. Okay, you'll be asked question directly from a passage like this. The fattest animal. Question will come in this format. Which animal has the most fat? Okay, if you are going to read, as the largest animal in the world, the blue whale has the most fat. As a matter of fact, the first sentence has given that question. Okay, the blue whale has the most fat. So you are just going to answer question 1, blue whale. Okay, now let us go into diagram question. Diagram question will be a passage describing a diagram. So look at this. This is the description you are given about a particular diagram, this diagram. So this diagram exists in the question, and the diagram says 6 is pointing to this, 7, 8 is pointing to this. If you read the paragraph well, you'll be able to decode from this part. It's telling you that the French version of a particular, what do we call it, dung beetle is about 30 cm. Okay, it says the shallowest is the Spanish and the South African is 20 cm. So from here, you will see that the one that is 30 is this one. So you will label it. I think that's the French. The shallowest was the Spanish, and the 20, the one with about 20 cm, was the South African. So I just quickly provided the answer there. But the explanation for the diagram are here. This particular question could be a bit dicey. That's why I always recommend that before you read any paragraph, the first thing you do is scan through the question, then go to the paragraph, so that you will know what you are reading for. You are reading for, yes, I've given the general rule of structure, but it will also help you so that you will know what you are reading for, especially when it comes to diagram question. Yes. Okay, it is 9:55. I don't know, I still have about 2 or 3 to cover. I want us to just, if you have any question.
Okay, please, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, my own
Um,
is
Okay,
to
yes,
manage it.
talking. Please, the other person, please hold on. Yetunde wants to ask question.
Okay.
okay, thank you. I noticed that the previous topics we read, or the previous passages we read, were not as much as, they're not that many, but when you check sample or test questions or test paragraphs, you realize that they're so lengthy, they're so bulky that you find it difficult to read in between the line and get the answer. Though, yes, you've taught us the main idea and the key action, key actor, then it's, as I said, it's just difficult to pick out, especially when it comes to that of the matching paragraph.
Okay, the thing there is this. Unfortunately, some of the questions I have treated are past questions. Even the ones I'm showing you now is a past question. This one seems voluminous, this paragraph, than the first one. And let me quickly race through all of them. This one is a paragraph. And all the
Yes.
questions are sample past question. Yes, this one is a paragraph too. I broke them down, but this is a reading that broke his paragraph down into by bits. Irrespective of the fact that a paragraph is big or small, the most important thing is understand the technique. And I'm going to explain with this one. Why I am using this one in particular is that this paragraph is broken into small paragraph, and yet I can read them all together as one paragraph. Whether I read it as a small paragraph or I read it as a bulky paragraph, I will still use the same method. Okay, because why? Once you are reading a paragraph, whether a sub-paragraph or a big paragraph, it is still the same thing. We have read this one before, close your eyes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and it was talking about people who had mental image and people who do not have mental image. This part, it was talking about the guy who could not count sheep in his head. Okay, and in this part, he said our memories are often tied up to images, thinking back to a wedding or first day at school. As a result, Nell admits some aspects of his memory are terrible, but he's also very good at remembering facts. Okay, and like others with alphantasia, he struggles to recognize faces. Yet, he does not see alphantasia as a disability, but simply a different way of experiencing life. So the last part is talking about, what is it talking about? Mental image connected to memory. Memory is affected by mental imaging. And so, if you read the whole paragraph as one, from here to here, it's talking about mental image. The key action there was the fact that some people can imagine, some cannot. A key example that was given to us was the fact that a guy who cannot remember sheep in his head. And we came to this part, it was talking about the fact that our memory is affected by our mental image. And it went to give example. So whether you read it in small bits or you read it as a whole, it will still work in the same manner. Time is gone, but I will, because I know that the bulkiness of the passage is the most challenging thing. And that's why whenever you are reading a passage, what is coming to your mind is what is the main idea. Now, the first lecture I held was one of the ones I read. This is a bulky paragraph, despite the fact that I have placed it on my slide. It talks about different things. A poll carried out in December that suggests that 69% of people are angry, and it now further broke them down. Percentage of Republicans that are angry, percentage of Black people, Latinos, and everything, without reading the whole passage. If you look at the way I colored it, you will discover that statistics were mentioned. And from things, it's about the statistics of angry Americans. Immediately you are reading, summarize in your head, you need to be able to think what's the main idea. Even if the passage is complex, please, main idea means you are able to summarize the passage in your own word, main idea. And I said, if the passage is too bulky, if there is a repetition, if you see things repeating themselves, in this passage, you will see anger being repeated all over and over. You will see statistics being repeated all over and over. If you miss the main idea, check out for words that keep repeating itself. The main idea is often around it. Okay, so the thing is that if you still have a challenge, please send me a message and send me that particular paragraph that is challenging you. I will still explain the same method, yes. Okay, I hope I'll be able to pick from you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mule, how can I be of help?
Yeah, I think you treated what I wanted to ask. It's more about the timing.
Yeah, more about the timing. The thing there is that a paragraph can be very worded. One thing you need to avoid is trying to decode everything or every word. Despite I did not recommend skimming, immediately you are reading, your mind is telling you what is the main idea. Is it about people killing one another? Is it about people cooking food? Is it about a delicious food? Is it about Americans being angry? Is it about Americans going to boats? Is it about health challenges or detecting diseases? You will see passages like that. The first thing that must come to your mind is what is the main idea, no matter how complex the passage is. Okay. Any other question, please?
Please, one more question. Although you've given us the opportunity to chat up with you if we have any difficulties. I read one of those practice tests, and they asked the question of the heading. They wanted to know if it was drawn out from an article, if it was a historical story, and a lot of, how do you identify such? How do you know how to answer?
Okay, I think I have come across such question before, and one of the things is that the first thing is that if you have been able to get the main idea of every paragraph, so determining what source it comes from. If it's an academic source is going to make references to a lot of what do I call it? A lot of academic journals. It's going to make reference to researches.
Okay.
And if it's just an article, you will see just everyday language that the person is using. Please, the fact that the person is talking about something serious does not mean it is academic. Some people can somebody can sit down and say, I want to analyze the political situation in Nigeria, and start talking and start giving analysis. That does not mean the person is a political analyst. Okay, and when a researcher is going to analyze, a researcher is going to cite a lot of authorities. But when somebody is just making an article just for maybe publication in a soft selling paper, the person is just going to put his own idea, buttress it with some example he saw somewhere.
So, okay, now if you want to give an example, this aphantasia image that we just read about the image, what would you classify? What source do you think it's drawn from?
Okay, this person from the few that I have seen here, this can just be an article. That's why the fact that the person is trying to say the researchers have shown us, he has not cited any researcher. He has just given example from stories. So this one is not a research proper. No. Except if I go further and I discover that the person was referring to a lot of researches, then you can regard this as a research.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Okay, so I hope, who else have a question? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. It's already past 10. So the next lecture, I'm going to race through the remaining question types. I've been able to go through about 4 or 5 today. I've gone through matching task, true, false, not given. I've gone through classifying information. I've gone through short answer questions. Okay, which other type have I gone through? I think those are, and I've gone through diagram, labeling. Okay, I think I have about 3 more. Those are not complex or multiple choice. I will race through them in the next lecture. But next lecture will be particularly on yes, no, not given. And if you have challenges with matching task, you can send your question ahead. I will treat it. Okay, and if you have challenges with yes, no, not given, you can send your question ahead. I will also treat it, because those are critical areas that I haven't taught this thing over time. I discovered that students normally find challenging matching task and yes, no, not given, true, false, not given. Okay, so if there is no question, I will say good night. If there's any question, you can ask your question.
Am I permitted to ask again? Or should we say good night? Okay, in that matching task as well, you know, they are all written in alphabetical order, like A, B, C, D, to pick an answer from where, what alphabet paragraph it fits. There are sometimes they have answers on a particular, maybe they have like 4 answers on a particular paragraph. How do you decode that? How do you detect that?
Okay, the thing there is that if they are having answers about, for example, it normally happens when the paragraph have, maybe there are 10 options and the paragraph is just about 6. So you'll be left with 4 options that have no answer. Or on the other side, a paragraph has more than 2 answers, more than 1 or 2 answers. The particular thing to do in this case is that when a particular paragraph has more than 1 or 2 answers, when it is permitted that you can pick more than a particular paragraph more than once, you need to properly understand the main idea and the key action. And also, you will do elimination. What do I mean by elimination? You will check through the options and tend to eliminate the most appropriate one. It means you will read your question choices again and match them with the main idea, the key action, and see which one fits properly, so that you can accurately get the one that fits and the one that does not fit.
Okay.
Yes, if I have the time, the next lecture, I will bring some sample type, especially from another exam. We call that exam PTE. PTE's own is more dicey, but I use it to teach some students in class. Why? PTE will actually ascribe about 3 answers to a particular paragraph, and you'll be given 5 options. When you have 5 options and they all look similar, so you now have to eliminate 2 that is outside, that is the strangest of the 5. So that's the way you will eliminate 2. You will eliminate the strangest because of the fact that you are looking for keywords that makes them strange. I will try to find an example for the next lecture, because I understand what you are saying about the matching task.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, any other question? Omoyemi, any question?
No.
Afyom, any question? You've already mute yourself. Any question?
You're struggling to speak. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. How can one identify the source of and the source of an article? Because I've seen questions like that where, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Where you can
Okay.
identify if something is an article.
Yes, an article or research work or a plain write-up. Or statistics or history.
The thing that
In some cases, you find that is directly stated, but in some, you don't see that. So it just leaves me wondering.
the manner of the writing of the person is what will make you know if it's a research, an article, or just a commentary. I call the other part a commentary because an article is just about trying to analyze a point of view. A research will cite authority and will cite other researches. That's one common thing about research. They will refer to other researches. They will give you facts and figures. Yes, after citing authority, facts, and figure, a research possibly will give you an inkling about results that others have generated and trying to extract their own results. An article will explain point of views. If it's historical, you will discover that the person will most likely refer to events, happenings, occurrences, dates. So that's the way to properly note research, article, historical event, or just arguments. You need to be clever about it. There are no fixed way of answering them. But if you have read many Ielts question, and when I am doing vocabulary development, I bring different kind of articles. Some are researches, some are just articles. So that is it. If you look the one in front of you now, the one in front of you is possibly an article because you can see it's talking about initial public offer. There was no rigorous analysis, just citing examples, figures, and things like that. This one is most likely article. He's not citing any authority. But if you see them citing authority, okay, James, who is an assistant professor from so, found out that that one is a research.
But there's something like that at the bottom. Jerita, a professor in finance of University of blah, blah, blah.
Okay, if you read a professor in finance at the University of blah, 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 and he uses his work and uses other people and now draws an inference, it's a research. If he's citing one person, it is still not a research, sorry, because he's just using that person as an authority. He's not using the person to prove a point so much. Yes, I can be a professor of this. Okay, what did he say? Let me go into what this person said. Just 53 technology companies went public in, which is around the median, but far fewer than the boom of late 90s when hundreds of tech companies went public. According to statistics maintained by Rita, the professor, today's companies are waiting longer. This is not a research. If this is a research, it will have quoted some things, but it was saying people are waiting longer. It's just citing what the person said.
Okay.
So it's not a research. He didn't cite the work of the person. He's just saying this person said this. This is not a research. This is just an article. Okay. So, any question? Mr. Kunle, any question? Okay, I think it's gone. Any other question?
No, from me.
Okay. What of Yetunde and Omo Yemi?
No.
Okay.
I'm good. Play is good.
Okay, so I will call it a day now. So Thursday again, we would meet again for a continuation of this reading, and I will be concluding except when there are special requests. Or
Hello.
yes.
I would maybe the last question I was asked about the research, or maybe it's an article. Maybe you should find time to actually bring up one or two similar kind of stuff just to buttress what you said.
Yes, I said it. So I'll bring some time.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so take care. So we see on Thursday.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah,
Good night.
yeah, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.